Hello, this is Steve Ramona, your host for Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I want to thank our sponsors, Infone, and with Infone, you can place your business on everybody's cell phone, turn their business into a web app, and with a click of a button, they'll have access to you 24/7. And also Pantheon.fm. Have you ever thought about monetizing and taking your podcast to the next level? Well, Pantheon can do that. Let us show you how. Reach out to Steve Ramona, the host, at infone.co/SR1, and I will go over with you how you can make your podcast really stand out. Let's enjoy the show. Thanks again, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your podcast host, Steve Ramona. And guess what? Got a woman that's a rock star. But you know what? She cares. She's authentic. And she really wants people to grow and if it's more money, but to get better. And that's why we have her on here, because she's a true servant. Colleen, welcome to the show.
Oh, Steve, I'm just so honored to be here. Everything about you just lights me up, leading with a servant heart. I mean, you just captured me from day one. I love this. And congrats on doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you. Well, let's start at the beginning. You were talking about before the show. Let's start there and work off that.
Yeah, I left home at a really early age. And so I kind of had to build like this tough, work ethic at a very young age. My parents had us working from age 8. And when I tell people I've had a job since I was 8, they're like, really? I'm like, no, really. I mean, I was delivering newspapers, and then we had to mow lawns. We had to go clean houses. No one came and knocked on my door. So I was like sales 101, right? I was knocking on doors and doing door-to-door sales. But then, when my family all fell apart and I realized, okay, that fairy tale of getting married and have babies and all that thing that all the women back in the 70s were expecting to happen for them when they grew up was not going to happen. And from there, I think a lot of that trauma I had really kind of moved me into I need to learn how to do a lot of things myself. I need to be financially independent because I can't depend on my mom or anyone else around me. There's no finances here. What am I going to do? Right. And so you build like this ethic about yourself, which is, well, as a child, I was always able to make money. I can build a career and I can grow, and climb the corporate ladder. I was not looking at entrepreneurship then. And then, little things like I wanted to, be a runner. So instead of just running a 5K and doing it casually, and then it was like half marathons, and then I got to do marathons. And, it's like never enough, right? That high performance habit. It's never enough just to do the one. Yeah. So then I was like, my husband and our kids grew up. We have 7 kids. Our kids grew up, and, having that many kids, you're at soccer games, not T-ball. It was baseball, volleyball. Football, you're being split 50 different ways, basketball, trying to support all your kids. So you're never home at night. And then we were home at night. Like, what is this crazy downtime? Like, what is that? Right. And we did what all sane couples do. We went and joined a dojo. Doesn't all, sane couples in their 40s and 50s. Yeah. Right. So I'm lucky that my husband has that same drive that I do. I remember asking him one time, honey, I'm worried about you because we do own a lot of businesses. We're starting a lot of things. And I feel like you might be overworking yourself. And he said, never worry about me when I'm building, worry about me when I'm not. And I just loved that saying. I don't know if that landed with anyone right now, but worry about me if I'm not building, because you're either growing or you're dying, right? And I watched people around me die, literally, Steve. Like, I watched them shrivel up after divorces. I watched them just become victims of their past. And I watched my own brother and sister do that. And I was like, that's not me. I'm not going to be that person. So I think maybe I put things in my path on purpose to challenge myself, so that I can see who I can become and what I'm capable of, because I don't want to ever be that kind of stagnant, dying, giving up victim person.
Yep.
So I highly respect sports. And when I joined the dojo, I didn't think it was for us, but 3 years later, we decided to compete. We decided to compete in nationals and districts, hurt myself a lot. I literally would go to corporate America every day as an executive with just bruises on my legs, bruises on my arms. People ask me all the time if I got mugged or jumped, because I was constantly bruised. And I would say that kind of spirit, of respect that you get in martial arts for yourself and others really helped me grow this respect I have for other people in leadership. Really helped me grow the respect and boundaries I have for myself. That's why when I met you, this whole servant leadership is something that has been just dear to my heart. And I have always hated managers that get a title and then think they're, all of a sudden now they're going to tell you what to do. And you're like, please, seriously, like, I don't need you to tell me what to do. I just need you to be here to support what I'm doing. Right. And I'll come to you when I need you. But, that was something that was a really fun time in our life. And, there's only about 2%, maybe I think 1 to 2% of people in the entire world that are first degree black belts. So that's a pretty high achievement.
Yes.
Congratulations.
No, I'm proud for you and your husband. Give him a hug for me, because it's a lot of work, but it leads to that experience. One thing you glossed over, because I love you're so humble. You have 7 kids and you did all this. Listen, I wanted you to hear that, because when you run into an obstacle, think of Colleen. I'm going to think of you and go, you know what? I can't do that. No, 7 kids, I could do it. How'd you do it?
It takes a village. It really does take a village. And I will say that as women, we are very different than men in this area. We really, feel like it's our responsibility to just nurture and take care of everybody. And then we put ourselves on the back burner. And I did that for a long time. So maybe that Taekwondo was my step into, really coming out as like, this is something I'm doing for me, because I've spent years, with preschool and kindergarten and all this stuff that you have to do for all these kids. And then it's like, this is my time. And it's really hard to keep your individual identity in the front when you've got so many people needing your attention in so many areas. And then we had them getting married and going to college. And then some of them were still entering high school, and, it's all over the board. And it really does take a village of people around you. And you have to be okay with saying thank you. For someone that does something nice for you. I was that person for a long time where someone would say, oh my gosh, Colleen, your shirt looks so nice. And I'm like, oh, I just got this at Ross for $10, and instead of just saying thank you and letting it land, I think, that helps us and our self-esteem. And if you're uncomfortable with letting it land, I want you to question, like, are you uncomfortable because you don't feel, worthy of the compliment? And that really kind of falls into now the steps that we need to take to really understand, who am I? What do I love? And I'm not going to lie, when the kids were out of the house, I was still eating fish sticks and shopping at, Abercrombie and Hollister, because that's where we used to shop. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even like fish sticks. What's happening here?
The change in the experience.
Yeah.
Well, that
I had to go shop at Nordstrom's in the women's department. Finally.
Get there. What's interesting about leadership and a village, that's what leadership is. A great segue. So your experience led you to leap and lead with enhanced acceleration to reach your peak performance. Talk about that.
Yeah. There's one thing in common I meet with all of my clients. Every client I've ever worked with, or hundreds of them, all the way back to 2002. The number one thing really has to do with their missing habits in their life. We have to have specific habits in our life to really be this true leader, right? A leader is someone who is followed. It's an easy definition. And for me, it comes down to the tiny little things, like James Clear, he wrote the book Atomic Habits. And in that book, he talks about tiny little triggers and tiny little things that you can do every day. My house looks clean every day when people walk into it, and I don't clean my house top to bottom every single day. If I get something out, I put it away. If I sleep in my bed, I make it in the morning, right? If I, get my makeup out, I put it away. I remember my daughter-in-law walked in my house one time and she was putting her baby to sleep in, our room. And she looked in my bathroom and she said, "Is your bathroom always this clean?" And I looked at her like, "Well, what? Yeah. What do you mean?" She's like, "You can't even see my countertop at my house in my bathroom." And I thought, why? Like, why is that? Why, so for me, those tiny little habits cross over into relationships. They cross over into our habits of our business. They cross over in how we do business with people, how we follow up. Like, to me, cluttered mind, cluttered life, cluttered business, cluttered everything, right? So there's something about that leadership piece and that peak performance. We don't know what our peak performance is until we're challenged. And a lot of people stay comfortable and they do not want to be challenged because why? They could live their whole life, Steve, never be challenged. And to me, that's super boring. Like, I wouldn't want to be on my deathbed and say, "So I was safe. I lived it safe. I never took a risk." So, leaving corporate America, that was a huge risk. I've made a lot of big risks in my life. We made some big financial risks. We failed. We've had victories, we've had defeats in everything we've done. But it's a lesson and you learn. And I think that person that can be real about it and tell other people how real they can be about it, that's a true leader, not a fake leader, not someone who's trying to make it, till they break it kind of leader with a title on their business card. I'm like a real leader who's inspiring other people. If Martin Luther King Jr. can stand up and he can sit there and say, "I have a dream," and have thousands of people, then there's no cell phones, no internet, no nothing back then. It was like word of mouth to get people there. That's like, Gandhi. I'm thinking of just all the amazing people in the past that have been these true leaders, some of them silent. They really didn't even say anything. It was just, Mother Teresa. It was
actions speak louder than words. I mean, that's Mother Teresa's another one. And I can't think of the gentleman in South Africa that was in Nelson Mandela. We all remember these people, and they didn't. I don't remember what Nelson did, but I do know he was a leader and he made change. Talk about leadership. Can anybody be a leader?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to just tell you one thing right now that pisses me off when people are like, "He was born to be a leader." And I'm like, seriously? I really don't think any of us are born any different than the other. It really has to do with your environment, and your environment that you're in, how you're taught, how you're fostered, how your self-esteem is fostered. There's The Outliers. That's a great book. It talks about, there's different people and different opportunities. But for me, I don't think you're born a leader. And some people will think, "Oh, well, if I just wasn't born a leader, I'm never going to be able to be a leader." A leader is a leadership position, and being a leader is earned. There's service that comes along with that. That's value that comes along with that. That's thinking and loving and leaning into people and what their needs are that go along with that. And it is something where, at one point, Steve, I thought I was a good leader. And then there were really great men in corporate America. Women and I didn't always get along that great. I think, the arrows in my back kind of proved it. Like, I was constantly being thrown under the bus. And it was just a different corporate, I would say, reality for women than it was for men, because we're fighting for these positions. It's ridiculous. Right. And I didn't understand it. And I just thought, why don't we all just get along? It doesn't make sense to me. But so I would take, men specifically and have them be my sponsors or my mentors. And I loved it because they taught me how to really be a true leader. The one thing that was absent from that I needed to mix for the final kind of concoction of my formula was my ability to bring emotion and passion and love to leadership. And I wasn't really taught that from the men, although I knew they loved and respected and cared for me to do that for me. they showed it in a very different way because men and DNA are very different than women.
Yeah.
So there is this ability, Steve, that I think women have where they're able to share that warmth in a way that feels good to an audience, feels good to a client, feels good to, a room full of people, where they just feel like they're kind of marinating in the goodness and they're safe,
Right. Men need to bring the inner woman out of them. And I hear that sometimes because I'm emotional, but you said something which I love. I had a guest, Lieutenant Oakland McCullough, who teaches leadership, but was in the military. He's a lieutenant colonel. He said, somebody asked me, hey, I'm a leader. He'll ask this one question. You just answered, who are you mentoring today? Mm-hmm. And you just, through this whole time in this show, you've talked about multiple times mentoring people. You believe that? Is that something a leader needs to do?
Yeah, I actually have 2 people I'm mentoring right now. One of them is in a nonprofit. She's the business development local here. And one is a single mom in California, and I live in Arizona. And she joined a program, and they asked me if I would be a mentor, and she's a mentee, and we got connected, and it was like the perfect, mix. So I volunteer my time to do a lot of mentoring to individuals that I really feel need it. Right. And you can mentor a room full of women at a nonprofit or any of those where they might be going through a program and you have the opportunity to spend an hour, with them. I've done a lot of that with some local nonprofits, but usually leaders have someone that they're following or looking up to or have mentors. And if they don't, I always say coaches have coaches. And if they don't, run. That's kind of my whole shtick, because you've got to constantly be learning. And I am not okay with the I know it guy or I know it girl. Like, I know that. Yeah, I know it. I'm like, I'll shut down faster than anyone in that moment and be like, okay, well, we're good here. Like, I'm not going to waste my breath if someone's just constantly like, I know. I don't think we're ever done learning. I know that for sure because I challenge myself in different sports and I challenge myself in different areas constantly and know that I hit mental blocks. And those mental blocks are all here. They're never physical because my body can do it, but my mental tells me you're ready to stop because you've decided you want to give up.
Yeah. And the one thing that you do know it is that you're going to learn every day. That's the only thing you can say. I know it. I need to learn.
Every day.
So people go, yeah. So you, and kind of joking with that. Yeah, I know it. When somebody says learning every day, know it. Let's jump in. Well, let's do a shout out before I forget. You've given us so many great nuggets. How can somebody get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. So I've worked really hard on my digital footprint, Steve. If you even look up Colleen Biggs on the internet, I'm like 6 pages. So boom, I'm the first one that comes up. I'm all over there. You can click on anything. ColleenBiggs.net is my website. It's absolutely the best way to connect with me. On my homepage, it just says, schedule a call with Colleen, connect with her, get on her newsletter. I love LinkedIn is another favorite platform of mine. If you want to like get fun stuff from me, kind of see me, behind the scenes, see all of my 12 grandkids and all the craziness that happens in my life, plus my business, you can follow me on Instagram at Colleen Biggs, because, how could you not love babies and toddlers and kids?
Amen. Well, guess what? I love carrots. So guess what? I'm going to put a carrot out there. You don't know I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it right now. The first 4 people that reach out to your audience, once you hear this, reach out, mention my name or the podcast, doesn't matter. I'm going to send you a $20 Amazon gift card. All she's going to do is she'll, hey, I heard you on Steve's show or whatever. She'll just send me your name and your email. And I just did this yesterday. I sent 3 out and people are like, oh my God, from the podcast. What I'm doing is sometimes it takes a little reward for people to take that step. As leaders, that's what we want to do. What carrot can we put out there that make that step? That's going to blow themselves up. And she's calling Biggs for a reason, because this is a big personality that wants to love and help you. So mention this podcast. We'll get you out a $20 Amazon gift card, and let's grow this thing. Let's jump into your. Oh,
so generous of you, Steve. Thank you. You are so kind.
Pleasure.
See this servant heart right here that we have on this show. Oh my gosh, Steve, that's a servant heart right there. Yep. See that for sure.
Well, let's get some more. Let's talk about books. I love your books. Talk about a little bit about your books. We got a few minutes left.
I have to say, like, Coming out of, birthing myself out of corporate America into entrepreneurship, everyone's like, you got to become an author. I'm like, write a book? What? I'm not an author. I'm not going to write a book. Like, to me, I was thinking Simon Sinek, Mel Robbins, how the heck am I going to write a book? And Brene Brown, I was like, if she can write a book, she's a researcher, right? So I jumped into a collaboration book. And then after that, I was like, wow, this like is a lot of fun to write books with people. So I did a lot of collaborations, created a couple journals. You can literally follow me on Amazon, Colleen Biggs. I'm an author. You can follow me and see all my books. But Step Into the Spotlight was probably one of my favorite books that I did. I used to produce a magazine for years, just to see if I could do it. I did it. I was there, I did it, and I decided I'm not a magazine girl and I don't want to produce them. I just like to be in them, That's what I decided.
Yeah.
Just like when I became a personal trainer, just to see if I could pass the test. I became a personal trainer because I love to work out, but I don't necessarily like to teach other people to work out. I just like to work out. So I decided that wasn't my thing. That's important for us to know. What's your thing? Like, what do you love, And I really do love writing. I didn't think I did, but I love writing. I love sending letters to people. I love writing letters to my kids, for Christmas and surprising them. And I love writing books. So Step Into the Spotlight to attract the right clients. It's really about how can you expand your influence? How do you bring authenticity? How do you, on these platforms that exist today, how do you stand out? And a lot of times we don't step into the spotlight. Like I said, nobody's knocking on my door saying, hey, Colleen Biggs, will you coach me? Right? Like, you've got to get out there and you've got to get your name out there. I started back in 2016 with one click on, SEO for my name. And now it's 6 pages. You've got to get yourself out there so that you can start getting those referrals. It's how you build up your social capital. Who knows you and who do you know? And I always say, who do you need to know? Find out how you can get in contact with that person. It could change your life, I'm not getting an Emmy today, but if I'm standing there getting an Emmy, the number one thing everyone says is, thank you so much to so-and-so for giving me the opportunity. I never would have done XYZ. Oprah Winfrey would be nothing without Quincy Jones. She was a journalist. Yep. I'm just saying. We got
doors opening. I love that. And I love that you try things. An audience. That's why I love what Colleen does. She's mentioned 2 or 3 things she tried. She's not a personal trainer anymore, but she tried it. It didn't work. Failure is a lesson to be loved. It's not a lesson to be hated. Love your failures. And everybody's had them. I know you listen, you've had them. And Colleen's proved that. And she's super successful.
Dude, I'm proud of my failures. Like, I have no like skeletons in my closet. I've shared everything with everyone from stage. Women's like jaws have dropped when I've shared some of my stories, and they kind of look around uncomfortable. But I'm like, I don't need to keep all that. I'm going to be very transparent. And I think that actually proves that you're a true leader when you're willing to kind of bear it all and get up there and say, with all the goodness and with all the mistakes and things that I've done, that's how I became who I am today. And I'm proud of that.
And anybody can do it. I say the same thing. I've got a podcast growing, but I'm nothing. I think I'm special, but anybody could be in my shoes. Like any man or woman can be in your shoes.
That's right.
Get the right mentor and that village. I'm going to bring up the village. I talk about that all the time. We can't do this alone.
No. Oh, no. There's a village of people around me even now. I mean, I have a team of like 6 people that help me run my business, run my Leap community, and then my husband and I have teams of people that help with businesses that we buy. I call them who's, right? So that amazing book, Who Not How, find a who. And when someone's like, what's a who? And I'm like, it's a person that knows how to do it. So you don't have to figure out how to do it. Who knows how to do it? Find a who, and it'll save you hours. It'll save you. And now AI is a really good who for things. I've used it for podcasts. I've used it for a lot of things. So technology is changing, but I want to caution everyone, Steve, if I can, with technology changing, embrace it and use it alongside the human factor that I think is so constantly craved right now. We need to connect more with people. There's a crap load of content. You can get so much content all day long on every social media, on Google. But are we really connecting with people? Because this is, September, Mental Awareness Month. We've seen a lot of tragedies happen over the last year of suicides, and the authenticity and connecting with other people and truly connecting, and, maybe putting our cell phones down for dates and putting our cell phones down for conversations we have, and truly being present. It's the one thing I'm proud of that a lot of people don't understand that I do in my business, because when we're done here today and I move to the next thing and I finally check my cell phone when I'm done, there'll be about 25 or 30 texts, and they'll wonder where I was. And I'm like, when I'm on video, when I'm on a podcast, when I'm doing coaching, I'm not looking at my cell phone. I'm not returning emails. I'm not doing anything. I'm present because Steve deserves that.
Amen. Yeah, I love that. When we got to end the show, I think I'm going to have you back for part 2, because a lot more we need to cover. And in the back of your shoulder, people in the podcast, when you see it, you won't see it, but it says, I am enough. Love that. I love you. Thank you for being on and giving us so much great information. I'm glad we have a partnership and friendship to move on with this. I want to ask you one more favor. Can you leave my audience a tip for their journey in life that they could take and run with and be present in?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because we talked a lot about this today. And one of my favorite quotes is, if learning is beneath you, then leadership will always be beyond you. So that's a pretty profound quote. And it's something for us to remember every day. What can you learn today that's going to make you a better leader and a better version of yourself than you were yesterday?